Hi there, I'm Ellie Gellerson, and I'm currently a master's student at the Virginia Institute of Marine Science. Here, my research is focused on understanding the community composition of microalgae that live within Arctic coastal lagoons. This means that I look at microalgae that live in the sediment, water column, and sea ice within Arctic coastal lagoons located along the northern slope of Alaska and see how they change over both time and space, and specifically see what environmental changes may be driving any differences in community composition that we see. This work is really important because Arctic microalgae form the foundation of Arctic food webs, meaning that any changes in their community structure could have major impacts on the rest of the coastal Arctic food web. This is what inspired me to build my lesson plan for the Virginia Sea program, or the Virginia Scientist Educator Alliance. My lesson plan is titled Food Webs Here, There, and Everywhere, and is specifically targeted for the fourth grade classroom based off of the life science curriculum of the Virginia Standards of Learning. Specifically, in my lesson, students will be introduced to what a food web is, the parts of a food web, and how food webs show the flow of energy throughout an ecosystem. After they've done that, they will look at the coastal Arctic food web as an example of integrating all of their knowledge into one. Specifically, they'll be looking at the coastal Arctic food web figure that you see here. After completing the lesson, students will move on to the activity, where they are given a Virginia coastal habitat diagram and a series of organism cards. I suggest laminating all of your materials so that these same materials can be reused for classes and lessons to come. And then you can use an expo marker. Once students are given the diagram, they will first label their habitats and then place their organism cards into the correct habitat. This layout is made to mimic that of the coastal Arctic food web, meaning that you can use that as a reference for your students. After that, they'll be asked to draw the flow of energy throughout their food web. After students have completed their Virginia coastal food web diagram, they will be given a worksheet, and this worksheet will serve as the primary form of assessment for this lesson. This worksheet asks questions like, can the student identify the producers and consumers in their diagram? What are the relationships like in their food web? And also asks them to compare and contrast Arctic coastal food webs with Virginia coastal food webs. There's also an opportunity at the end of the PowerPoint to lead a class-wide discussion about what would happen to food webs if the primary producer disappeared or apex predators. If you're limited on materials and can't print all of these, there's also an option to lead this activity as a class-wide virtual activity, and you can find those in the PowerPoint. Thank you for listening to my introduction to my lesson, Food Webs Here, There, and Everywhere, and I hope that you implement it in your classroom and that it's successful. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I would love to hear feedback about how this worked in your classroom. Thank you.